It's rock and roll time because you're here on another edition of Beats and Beatdowns. It's season 2. It's episode 7, and we're on the letter Q. And man, Karl, letter Q was kind of difficult. We're going to talk about that in a moment. As always, I am Bobby Munson. That man beside me, Karl Carafell, and we are your hosts here on Beats and Beatdowns. Karl, how you doing today?
Damn, man, I am doing absolutely fine. It is glorious day outside. I've got my Dr. Pepper, and we are all good.
Perfect. Still not quite the sponsorship from Dr. Pepper, of course, but, hopefully one of these days. But, in the meantime and in between time, anybody who might be looking for an alternative to Dr. Pepper, if you're looking for something along those lines, you can always go check out our good friends at Rogue Energy. RogueEnergy.com, using the promo code OLEPODS gets you 10% off your order. They are a sugar-free, low-calorie, vegan-friendly alternative to the average everyday energy drink. And I believe one of the flavors I have heard is close. It's not quite Dr. Pepper, but it's getting there. I've heard some feedback anyway for some of the members of our local establishment.
Okay, interesting to note. I'm going to have to ask around and find out what that is and maybe order myself some and give it a shot.
Might not hurt. Yeah, no, I've heard nothing but great things. Again, I got to get my order in as well too, because I'm ready to start living that healthier lifestyle a little bit more this year, I think. So the older we get, the more you want to stay healthy. But speaking of healthy, nothing wrong with the health of Beats and Beatdowns. That's for damn sure. People love their rock and roll. They love their music. They love their professional wrestling. And when those two worlds collide, we come up with a show like this for you guys. And we've been giving you a cataloged A to Z look into the world of professional wrestling and music. And like we said, sometimes you come up with something like a letter Q. And we dug deep. We really dug deep to try to find a connection with the letter Q. Nothing. I mean, if anyone's watching this, please tell us we're wrong and that we missed something and let us know so that we can, redeem ourselves down the line here and do, a spotlight on who it is that should have been highlighted here. But instead, hey, we're opening it up to you guys, the fans. Again, this is a pre-recorded video. So these are questions that came in beforehand. If you are watching this on our local establishment, Turnbuckle Studios or the Video Bros Network, the questions have already been entered and you are watching a replayed video. So, Karl, I know that you had a few come in as well, too. I know I've had a few. I'm going to start with one that came in that's going to be a general question, but definitely a lot of people want to know. They've heard us mention about our love for the heavy and stuff like that. But
right.
all-time favorite group for you, solo artist, band, whichever it is, who's it got to be and why?
It is going to be Korn. All-time, 100%, my favorite. I mean, really starting back in about 1993, although their big pop really came in like 1994. But like they were just so different from even just the rock that was out there. You had the glam rock, and then you had just rock, and then like along came Korn to put into mainstream this new metal, NU metal, and it blew me away to the point where I would listen to Korn on repeat constantly. And even in my own personal life, going through some difficult situations, had the opportunity to find some solace. Yeah, believe it or not, find some solace in listening to Korn and just really feeling the music and listening to the lyrics.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel alone I break and have to turn on some Korn to get through those tough times, of course. But yeah, also a big fan of them myself too. And I remember picking up the self-titled album in 1994. And from the moment that Blind starts coming in with the little bit of the taps of the cymbals and stuff like that, and then that crunching, that da-na-na-na, you just say, okay, what do we got here? Fieldy coming in with a boom, boom, boom. Okay, I can get into this. And then, are you ready? I mean, it rocks. It's simple. It rocks. It's awesome. They've really brought on the heavy in the last few years. Last few albums, in fact, have been quite on the heavy side. With the most recent one, people a little complaining that it wasn't as heavy as the previous installments, but that's okay sometimes. Korn have been able to branch out multiple times and done it successfully. Granted, there's maybe an album or two in their catalog that I would not rank as high as some of the other ones. You can have some misses. That's with any group, period. But I love the new album personally. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I know you do as well too. We've had this conversation. I think it's an overlooked album, and really people should go back and revisit it.
I think so as well. And I think the best way that I can put it, I was talking to a friend a couple days ago, and we were talking about music and our love for music. And they had said, oh, like I saw reviews on this album and people are just trashing it, saying that it totally sucks. And I'm like, you know what? To be honest with you, there is no album out there that sucks. There is no album out there that is you could be considering the worst of all time or whatever you want to say. It's all in your own personal perception of that album. So if that album isn't for you, that's perfectly fine. But that album is top of the list for someone else because it resonated more with them. So yeah, it's all in how you see it. It's all in how you take it.
Yeah, it really is. Again, if I was to answer this question, I don't know how to dance around this one without somebody thinking that I'm supporting all the wrong people and stuff like that. But I'm going to flat out say it, despite all allegations currently, and I'll tell you, 90% of those allegations have been completely dropped because of the bullshit surrounding him. I was always a massive Marilyn Manson fan for the creativity, the difference that he did, this persona that he was pulling. It was a modern day Alice Cooper. And again, a fan of Alice Cooper, someone we talked about on the letter A. And right. I was a fan. And again, I feel like I've had to hold back saying that because I know he's not a great person. And I'm not saying the allegations against him are necessarily true. We know he's got his problems with drugs. That he said himself. That's not an unknown thing. We know that he's had a very different lifestyle at times. That's not him thing. I'm not trying to defend the human behind it, but the music that he's put out really resonated with me. Again, it was another one up there. I could have listed, 5 bands back when I was in my high school days, and it would have been Korn, Manson, Slipknot, Rob Zombie for sure in there. Somebody, I'm thinking those 4 for sure anyway would have been topping my list of repeatable bands that I was listening to throughout high school.
So now, when it comes to Marilyn Manson, I give the guy some kudos for continuing on and doing what he's continued to do despite, since essentially the very beginning of his career, where different allegations and different rumors had been started and kind of blew up. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go with it. Okay, so allegations that he had his ribs removed to perform acts.
Yeah.
Okay. Really? But people believed that shit.
Oh, they did.
And he continued to press on and press forward no matter what. And really built like an insane dynasty for himself.
Yeah. I mean, he went with the simple model that it didn't matter if you hated him or loved him, you knew of him. And that was right. What sold his records for the most part. A lot of the people that were protesting him had never actually listened to them. They didn't understand the context behind them. They didn't understand that this guy, despite what he was going out there with his Antichrist superstar ways, actually grew up in a very religious family himself and had a very vast knowledge of religion and God and the Bible and everything like that. He does things to get under people's skin. And it's worked for him for many, many years. And he's an artist. Plain and simply, he's an artist. And that's what he's always strived to be. And again, whether or not something's going to happen, we're going to find out that maybe he was doing some wrong. But, people were quick to write him off because of the clear stage persona and everything like that once allegations came out against him. Again, like believing that he'd have ribs removed, believing that he used to take dogs and throw them into his audience during his performances and stuff like that. Like all these rumors that would start that were clearly 100% false, but people believed the narrative because of the image they were seeing. And that was what drove people crazy about the guy. I will say that, I was always a fan, but I'm a fan of a lot of newer groups now too. There's been some that have really sparked my interest, but I know one of the questions that we have written down that you've got on your paper there, Karl, leads into that topic. So I didn't want to bring that into this one here. I'll go with something a little bit from the past. I mean, I could even make an argument for the Beatles because really it was one of the first incarnations of rock and roll that I recall growing up on, coming from an English family. And again, as much hate as there is for the Beatles out there, I will always stand firmly behind the Beatles as a band. I love their stuff from day one right to the end.
They may have been very soft rock.
Yes.
But they were still like almost innovators.
Well, I mean, you can make an argument for Helter Skelter being one of the first heavy metal like songs that ever existed.
Very, very true.
Yeah. But what do we got written down there, Karl? I know we had another set of questions. I know Alex was wonderful to bring in some questions here for us as well to fill the time today. So what do we got written down there? What can we answer next?
Well, first, I want to put out there that even if you are watching this and you want to leave us something, I want you to go and send us an email at olepodcasts@gmail.com with some questions that you may have, because who knows, we may do this again at some point, just a simple Q&A session. And we want you guys to have your questions in and ask us whatever you want. We don't want that it's just wrestling or just music. You want to ask us about anything? Ask us about anything to get our opinion on it. And that's exactly what Alex did for us. Alex has some movie questions in here for us. And one of them is your favorite non-animated film.
Favorite non-animated film of all time for me is hands down Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This is one of the most creative, innovative movies that I've ever watched. The performances in it are top level, with it being Jim Carrey's mega performance that should have won him every acting award on the freaking planet. This movie is innovative. It's stunning. It's got a great story backing it. And if anyone hasn't seen it, just give it a chance. It is a little slow burn, but man, if you've got the patience, this movie pays off dividends once you've seen it right the way through. Love this film.
Very, very good one that really flies underneath the radar that a lot of people don't even know about. So say the name of the movie again so that people can write it down and go and check it out.
For sure. It's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And this was I believe it's actually written by Lloyd Kaufman, and Kaufman is a very unique writer when it comes to Hollywood, having done things like adaptation with, I believe it was Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep as well too. Okay. Another very, very different movie that again, like ranks right up there for me. He's just got a very unique mind when it comes to his writing style. And again, who would have thought Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep in a bizarre movie would have been perfect, but somebody did. And man, I'm glad we got it.
I'm okay. I'm gonna just answer this question that wasn't even asked. My favorite actor of all time, and then Bobby, I want to hear yours. Mine is Nicolas Cage.
Nice. I mean, he's a wild man. He's definitely a wild man, but he's had some longevity for a reason. Of course, coming off of the movie that I just talked about, mine is Jim Carrey. At first, when I first saw Jim Carrey, I was a young guy, thought he was funny, thought he was hilarious. He made me laugh a lot. But once I started seeing the serious side of him come out, seeing The Truman Show, Man on the Moon, The Majestic, things like that, I started to realize the depth of what he was capable of doing. I know that people think, okay, he's a little off his rocker, he's a little bit crazy, but all the best ones aren't they? I mean, in reality, like, we don't know necessarily who Jim Carrey, the actual person, necessarily is, because he is whoever he wants to be. It's was proven with Man on the Moon, where even the family of Andy Kaufman themselves said that it was as if Andy had been reborn in Jim Carrey's body, like they were actually there with Andy himself. If you've seen the documentary that Netflix had done, Jim and Andy, where they're actually sitting there and it's members of Kaufman's family that are crying, tearing up because they feel like Andy was there with them, whether it was Andy, whether it was Tony Clifton, he was there in spirit, living through Jim Carrey during the filming of that movie.
Oh, definitely he was. Definitely he was.
Cool.
I'm going to throw out a few different names here as well before I tell you what my favorite movie is. So we're going to have names like Lee J. Cobb, E.G. Marshall, Jack Klugman, Jack Warden, Joseph Sweeney, and even Henry Fonda. My favorite movie of all time comes all the way back to 1957, a courtroom drama film known as 12 Angry Men.
Very classic film.
Oh my God. So it makes the top of my list. I have a few movies that are always my go-to. 12 Angry Men. If I can find it, I'm watching it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of movies, again, like if I really like a movie, I will give it multiple plays easily, hands down.
Yeah.
I'll give it some breathing room, mind you. Like I'll watch a movie, like it. I give it 6 months to a year before I'll rewatch, but it's one of those things. You see it happen to be on a live channel, you turn it on. You happen to see it pop up on Netflix, Disney, Amazon, whatever it is you got going. Of course, hey, what can I watch right now? Well, I can never go wrong with this because I love it. And that's the way it breaks down for me too when I see movies that I really love.
Definitely. What questions do you've got?
Next question. Let's just have a look here. I mean, we could keep on the movie thing. I know that there's more on that side as well too, but let's go back to music. Again, one of the questions that came in from somebody here on my end was, do either of you guys have involvement in music itself? Do you play any instruments? Have you been in any bands? Anything of that sort? I'll take the reins first on this one. I have. So I have tried playing the guitar a couple times. Not very good at the guitar. I can hold a chord, but trying to switch a chord, you're dreaming. My fat man fingers do not want to make those frets go all that well. Drums, I cannot coordinate my brain to do the hand and the feet gestures at the same time. However, bass came very, very nicely for me. Bass guitaring was actually not too bad, and I did pick up the bass when I was 16 years old. I haven't played for a little while, but I do still remember how to play a bass guitar for the most part, and I've been thinking about getting back into it. As for bands, I played the bass guitar in a band called Somber, never really got to the point of doing shows or recording anything professionally. I had then stepped away from the band scene for a little while. I then came back in a band as the vocalist, screamer, I guess. I am not much of the actual singer, but the heavy I can do. We were called Suffer the Children. We released a 5-song EP and had won a battle of the bands while during my time there. Then tried to get another band going called the Zenith Ablation, which was a little bit more of a progressive metal type group. So our songs were, a little bit on the longer side, anywhere between 8 and 10 minutes, a lot of progression throughout them, a lot of melody and everything like that. It was very interesting, very new driven type stuff. But that's where it's ended for me. I haven't really done anything since. I have recently been asked by a very close friend of mine who I directed a music video for quite a few years ago, if I'd like to come in sometime and possibly do some backup vocals for some of the recordings that him and his band have been doing, because he's finding with age that the heavy stuff is not really going too well for him anymore, but he wouldn't mind if I came in and maybe helped out with a little bit of that. So there is possibility that I might step into that. And if I pick up the bass guitar, they have been looking for a bass player for years. So I think there is the possibility that maybe my time with music isn't 100% done just yet.
That's awesome. See, I mean, we learn stuff every day, like I didn't know about, you and I kind of discussed the Battle of the Bands. But I mean, anything before that, I really didn't know. And, yeah, that's interesting. I love that.
And how about yourself?
Well, I currently, beats and beatdowns.
There we go.
That's what I do that involves music. Before that, though, I was always in a choir. whether it was it was always within my religious organization, within my church. And, whether it was Sunday school or our youth group would do performances, our youth group was asked to go and do Christmas programs down in Kitchener. So like that was really cool. And then I transitioned from just being part of the choir to directing the choir. So I've got choir leading experience to my name as well, and really kind of took things into a little bit of a different direction at that time. I was kind of being a little bit more jovial with the choir, and they were absolutely loving it. Back in high school, I did a semester of music where I learned the tuba. I remember nothing about playing the tuba, but I did do that, which was a really cool experience. You go into the classroom and, they're like, oh, everybody choose an instrument. And of course, everybody's run into the guitar, to the drums, to, all these different, well-known, the piano and stuff. Right. And then I'm sitting there going, I'm a little bit of a bigger guy. I've got a little bit of a deeper voice. Let's go with something a little bit deeper. And I chose the tuba, and it was a great experience. Other than that, that's really about it. I've never been in an actual band, never recorded anything. So I mean, I guess kind of some stuff that I've done has been recorded, and this is how long ago it was that I have it on VHS tape.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean that stuff is there. I still do kind of have it, but yeah, that's about really all that I've done, besides just enjoying different music.
Yeah. And I'm just putting the pieces together too. I'm thinking about when I did record the 5-song EP with Stuff for the Children. That disc came out in 2005. So that has been 18 years since I released that bit of music. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's interesting to think back that far already. That much time has passed, and it's been a joy. I'll have to share some of that, or also I don't know if I've ever shown you the music video that I directed either for the band Chainfire. I'll have to show that to you as well too.
Oh yeah,
but remind me after we're done here for sure, and I'll show it to you. But in the meantime and in between time, I don't have really a whole lot more that came in from my end there, Karl. I know you had quite a few more of those, so let's hammer out a few more of those questions.
I do, and a few more of these came from Alex, but we did receive a late submission as we were recording from our good friend Ed Fries, or Ed Freeze, however you want to pronounce it. And I'm gonna read it just as he wrote it so that we can kind of make sense of it here. He says, I know I'm late, just saw the post. Which wrestlers would make the best music who don't have a musical gimmick already, especially for the different genres of music?
Oh man, Ed throws out some damn good questions. I gotta say there, that's a challenging one because again, what are you looking for? I'll just say Rhea Ripley. She's got the look, the style. I swear she's a fan. I mean, I sent that to you one night during the Raw watch along, the video for Werewolf by Motionless in White, and said, tell me that Rhea Ripley isn't a fan of Chris Motionless, or else vice versa. He's a fan of hers, because those two have been dressing the same as of late, as far as I'm concerned. Watch the video for Werewolf by Motionless in White. You'll see exactly what I mean. And Rhea's got a cool voice as well, too. So I imagine in the right context, especially in heavy metal, I think it would lend beautifully. And again, the look, sometimes the look is what you need as well too. And Rhea's got the right look to be in a metal group.
Right. She definitely does. And that was immediately who I had thought of as well. Another name that I think of is Bailey. Bailey doing like pop music. Right. Like, I mean, Bailey's kind of got that girl next door look to her, which is absolutely gorgeous, but kind of reminds me of like, the Miley Cyrus or the Britney Spears or the Selena Gomez type of person, right? That could really take pop music and bring it more to a forefront. Then you've got, no, I can't even mention her because she does do music. I was going to say Mickey James, but Mickey James does do country music. Yeah.
I mean, you can make an argument for Soraya being the most likely to have an opportunity to do it, considering who she is currently, with
Right.
and everything. So for anybody who is not aware, the band Falling in Reverse, their frontman and Soraya are Item, which is why she uses the song Zombified on as her entrance on AEW. So there is also that. I mean, I know he does a lot of work where he probably could easily pull her into it and have her do some backing up for anything like
Oh
that,
yeah.
which would then add her to that collection as well too.
And what about male? We talked all females. What about
We did
Jazz?
because I mean, there's so many that could be lent to music. But on the female side, I'm trying to think on the male side because I mean, every time that WWE ever tries to produce anything musically, they just get these guys out there that just shouldn't touch music at all.
Right.
Last thing I need is another Kurt Angle led song in my life. But you know,
Right.
with all due respect to Kurt Angle, of course. But I'm
But
trying to
what
think.
about somebody like a Randy Orton doing punk?
Maybe I think at this point with Randy at the age that he is, I don't know if like maybe a younger Randy I could have lent to it a little bit more, but you know, 4 or 5 children into his life and the age that he is with you know, some of the health issues he does, I don't know punk really lends itself to Randy Orton as much as it once would. I see where you're going with it though. They completely fair on that assessment as well too. I'm just trying to think where I mean Sammy's got the look for doing ska music. It's
Right. Yeah,
like
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, like that is a very strong possibility on that side. I don't think anyone would have a problem with a really upbeat, fun Sami Zayn ska album coming out.
No, I wouldn't. I would be totally down for it.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
But great question from Ed. That challenged us. That definitely challenged us. So kudos, Ed. What else did we have come in there as well?
So we had we're gonna go back to film again here.
All right, I like it.
So favorite animated film.
Favorite animated film. Ah, that is very good. There's been so many. That's the thing. And I do watch a lot of animated movies as well, too. You know, I could make arguments for going down the world of adult film and say the original Heavy Metal was just a cool experience in general. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be kidding myself if I didn't admit to how many times I've rewatched both the Simpsons and South Park movie over and over again. Just playability of those two movies is right up there for me. But I'm a sucker for animated. Like I'll watch I've seen every Disney cartoon movie that's ever been made. Pixar, same thing, like DreamWorks, like all those animated films that have the budgets behind them. Even some of the indie stuff. Like we'll watch the awards and see what's up for the awards and go seek out some of those smaller independent films and just wow, sometimes it amazes me just how good they can be. How about yourself?
Mine includes both animated and music. Mine is actually Fantasia.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Like so I'll break this stone open for everyone. Yes, I love my heavy metal music. I do. But I enjoy all types of music. Really, the only types that I'm not a huge fan of would be jazz and country. So I'm not a big fan of either one of those.
And see, I can go either way on those two styles depending on who's behind it and what. But I'm with you. I won't go out of my way for it. But there's some jazz I dig and country too, especially old country, especially or really rock related country. But yeah, I'm here where you're saying for sure.
But I absolutely love classical music. If I have the option between heavy metal and classical, I'll bounce between the two of them. I definitely will. Right. And one of my favorite albums that have ever come out has been Symphony of Metallica #1.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my go-to albums all the time is if
Clover,
I need something, like I go to that. My favorite off of that is from Symphony of Metallica. I will throw my headphones on. I will just lay back, close my eyes, and just let it hit me with all the feels. It's just so good. So yeah, I mean, like I talk a lot about my, rock and metal, but I love my classical music too.
Yeah. And again, it was always one thing with me too, is like usually, heavy metal was throughout most of the day and stuff like that. But you sometimes wake up in the morning and not quite ready to rock out yet. And throwing on some Mozart, some Beethoven, or just any of that kind of classical music is really just a nice way to wake up your morning and stuff like that too. And something that has lent itself into metal. There has been artists that have tried to recreate some of those classical sounds with the electric guitar as well too, and just amazingly done at times.
Right. Definitely it is. So let's transition back into some music here.
All
And I
right.
want to go into current top of the list song for yourself. And let's narrow it down a little bit and let's make it a top of the list song now. Not an all time, but just a
Yeah.
now that your go to.
Go to at the moment. For me, this, you know what? I've been listening to Skin so much lately that I'd have to say the song John Wayne Gacy.
Right.
I mean, every time I open YouTube at the moment, that song is just popping up there, and I play it every single time. Anyone not familiar? Skinned, she is an artist out of Australia, very, very unique. And at first, I thought this was multiple singers that were on this style of
Right.
music. This music is called true crime music. So every song is about some sort of person who created a violent act or something in our history, and she's retelling the story through the music. She does sometimes have guest vocalists on with her, like Jonathan Davis, for example, on the
Right.
Gary Hydex song. But all in all, that's why John Davis even wanted to work with her, is because she can go from deep, dark, almost man-like sounding vocals to this sweet, bubbly, nice stuff, but it ain't so nice. It sounds nice, but the topics ain't so nice. So yeah, I would say currently, if it's not John Wayne Gacy, then it would have to be probably something along the lines of like, you know, I'm trying to have the title slip in my mind right now. It's By Nothing More. Tired of Winning by Nothing More would be the
Oh
other one that
yes.
I
Yes.
over and over again had that one on repeat for the longest time as well too.
Mine coming again from Korn off of their latest album, Worst is on the Way,
Phenomenal.
is my go to right now. 100%. If I need just a music fix, it's right there. Just open my phone, throw my headphones on. Worst is on its way. And I'll listen to it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row just until I feel that good. And then I push it off and let it go.
Yeah. And the nice thing with that too is like my wife has been listening to more of the stuff that I'm into a lot lately, getting really into it and understanding it. And she's heard this Korn album over and over again. And that song stands out for her too. I remember like one time she's coming home and she comes in the door. She goes, "Yeah, that Korn's Worst is on its way was just rocking on Octane as I was pulling into the driveway." She goes, "And I had to finish it before I came in or whatever." So she sat in the car and finished the song through. She loves it just that much. And I mean, that's awesome, and awesome for them because again, they're able to bring in new listeners this many decades later. And fantastic. Great song, great
Right.
album.
Yeah. And it's not even like their mainstream song from the album. Like it's insane. It's insane. It definitely is. It's my go to.
And I believe we had at least one more question that we can get to here before we wrap things up. I'm sure that, or do we have a couple?
Um, well, we've kind of gone over the rest that we've through our talking. We definitely have, like, we talked about current favorite bands. I mean, we've kind of mentioned some of those going through.
Yeah.
Um, I do want to give just a quick shout out to one new band that I have heard. If you haven't heard of League of Distortion,
Oh yeah. Oh, because I'm a bitch, right?
right? Yeah. Yeah, that is exactly the song here. Katie Babs on Octane putting it out there, saying this is a new song coming out for us. Tweet, tell us what you think. I tweeted it out. I tagged a bunch of people. I hashtagged a bunch of shit in it. Jose, Metal Ambassador Mangan, liked it for me. It was
Nice.
absolutely insane. Great, great band that's coming out. You need to check out League of Distortion.
Oh yeah, and so many new good bands that are coming out week after week, putting out just absolute fire music. It's great. We got great music that's coming up right away. For example, Avatar's new album is dropping
Oh,
in a short period of time here in February, alongside the same weekend as Godsmack's new album. So again, you got
yes.
somebody new and somebody a little bit older dropping brand new music at the same time. And again, the songs I've heard off of both albums so far, awesome. Just
Right.
in fact, Avatar, mind-blowingly, that song, The Dirt I'm Buried In, what a turn for them. It's so
Right.
unexpected to the point where playability is going to be huge for them on that track.
Oh yes, oh yes. Avatar has been, for those that don't know, Avatar has really been more of a circus type of sound coming from them, like a carnival circus type of sound. But some of this newer stuff that they're bringing in has shifted a little bit away from that, but kind of kept a little bit of those undertones and just really giving us something different from them,
Mhm.
which is great because everything always needs to evolve. And Avatar is definitely
Oh, yeah.
evolving and absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, in a phenomenal way. Can't wait for those albums to drop, and I'm sure plenty of more that's going to come out this year. And that leads me to believe that we're going to have a lot to talk about that might not even be beats and beatdowns related. I know we spoke about it, possibly doing a every month or every couple of weeks kind of thing, doing a show where we just talk about music in general, kind of like what we're doing here today. So again,
Yeah.
if anybody's got any topics they want to talk about that might not fit the beats and beatdown mold, very soon, I think the two of us are going to have to start getting more involved in the musical world straight up, because we just have a love and passion that's on the same level for music in general. And I think that that's what we need to bring to the world.
I think so as well. We've got one last question
All
that
right.
I wanted to leave this one because it was totally outside of the realm of everything here. And I want people to know and understand. Again, go and email us, make sure that you're sending us some different questions so that we can bring you another, even if it's just a special that we do on the side, that we just kind of answer some of these questions for you. OLEpodcasts@gmail.com. The ticker is down below where you can find all of the socials for our local establishment. The easiest way for you to contact us, though, is going to be at that email address. And you've just put in the subject line, questions for B and B. That's all you got to do. Questions for B and B.
And Carl and I monitor that Gmail account quite frequently, so
Yeah.
we will see your questions. Don't worry about that. So, but you said one more questions there for us, Carl. Though let's end this episode off beautifully. What you got for us?
This one is quite different. This one is asked by Alex once again. It says, any books that you wish they would have made a movie of?
The very good. Yeah, Alex throwing some really good questions in here today. Love that. Thank you to everybody who reached out with questions. First of all,
Yes.
that's means a lot to us, and this episode's been successful as a result of these questions. Books I wish they would have made it into a movie. They've made so many of them into movies already. It's kind of tough. But for me, I'm going to go with one that I believe it was bought for the idea of maybe producing a show, but nothing has come about it just yet. So it hasn't been produced into a show yet. It could still be, but I'm talking about The Institute by Stephen King. This one came out just a few years ago and was probably one of the strongest piece of work that Stephen King has put in novel form in quite some time. I'm a big fan of his, clearly. Oh no, I faded the background. Sorry, I'm pointing to the fuzzy books behind me, but yes, I am a very big Stephen King fan, and The Institute, I was absolutely engaged throughout this entire thing. I think that there are moments within this book that put on the screen are going to make people, they're going to make you feel things very much so. The kind of torture that goes on inside the Institute, and I don't want to say too much to give away in case they do make it into something. I don't want to spoil things for people. There are moments within there that even while I was reading, I was like, damn, like just stop doing this, please. I think it will lead very nicely to a TV show or movie here very soon, hopefully. But again, every bit of Stephen King's work gets bought with that potential, and not everything makes it to the silver screen.
It's very true. Unfortunately, not everything makes it there, but books allow you to really use your own imagination as well, to come up with your own different scenarios. And yeah, like it's good to even just get out there and read books.
Yeah.
So mine is, again, I'm going back a few years. So this book reveals a belief in Christ that carried an innocent woman through some of the worst agonies man can devise. One of the most tragic yet most inspiring and faith-giving true stories of Corrie ten Boom in her book called A Prisoner and Yet, talking about her time spent in the Nazi concentration camps. I've read that book several times, and it hits me with so much different emotion, from sadness to anger to even a little bit of happiness sometimes within this book. It runs a whole gamut of different emotions, and I think to see something like that turned into film would be absolutely phenomenal.
Awesome. I think, yeah, that beautifully said, beautiful idea. And I think that would lend beautifully. Those types of stories are what Hollywood gobble up, because that's the kind of stuff you're going to see on the list for film of the year, is that kind of emotion, that kind of story and everything like that. So great, excellent picks. This has been quite the episode. I wondered what it was going to pan out like. Again, we've been debating doing this for a while, and I didn't expect we were going to have one of our longer lasting episodes here, Karl. So this has been great. I think we should say that that's probably going to be it for this episode of Beats and Beatdowns. Of course, the letter R is what we got coming up for you guys next. Only a few more episodes in this season left for you. The letter R, we're going to be going back to some good old rock and roll. We're going to be talking about Mr. Rob Zombie. So we want you guys to tune in next Wednesday for that episode of Beats and Beatdowns. If you haven't done so already, hit follow, subscribe, whichever platform you are following us on. Make sure to do that for Beats, not only for us here at Beats and Beatdowns on our local establishment, but also Turnbuckle Studios and the Video Bros Network as well, too. We appreciate it. Karl, why don't you plug where people can find you, what you got coming up?
Everywhere that people can find me is very easily put into a Linktree account, Linktree/Karl Carafel. That's the easiest place. It's going to take you to where you can actually click on YouTube. You can click on Twitch. You can click on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's all there for you at Linktree.
Beautiful. And as always, you can find me here multiple shows throughout the week on our local establishment. You can reach out to me on media platforms, Twitter at Real Bobby Bunsen. You can reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Video Bros SK. You can also find me on YouTube, the Video Bros Network, as I mentioned. You might be watching this on as well, too. You could also find me over at Prairie Pro Wrestling as one half of the commentary team with Papa Smokes, with new matches coming out every single Saturday for you guys. So stay tuned for more great action from Prairie Pro Wrestling. And in the meantime and in between time, we're going to get going and we're going to get prepared for the next episode of Beats and Beatdowns. We're going to be talking about Mr. Rob Zombie. So for myself and Karl Carafel, we thank you for joining us here today. Thank you for the questions. We will see you guys very soon. Take care and rock and roll.